Situational awareness. We're going to recognize the gentlewoman from Georgia, and then Mr. Garbarino from New York, and then we're going to adjourn. So now the gentlewoman from Georgia, Ms. Williams, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, and thank you, Chairman Hill and Ranking Member Waters, for holding this hearing. Y'all, I represent Atlanta, which has one of the largest racial wealth gaps in the country. And I was proud of our regulators' commitment to fostering inclusive economic growth and resilience, not only in Atlanta, but in communities across our nation during the previous administration. Regrettably, the strides that we've made are now in jeopardy. Last year, when we met with our prudential regulators, many of my Democratic colleagues reiterated one thing. Implementing a Project 2025 agenda in the financial service space means risking our economy, favoring billionaires, and advancing priorities that will systemically hurt millions of Americans in the middle class or worse. Basically, it's exactly what you guys said. We shouldn't be weaponizing our financial systems. Fast forward, and our current president has so far acted in line with those same exact Project 2025 recommendations, eliminating key agencies or virtually eliminating key agencies or drastically reducing things like the CFPB and the Minority Business Development Agency. So far, most of the president's actions have been devastating to marginalized communities across the country, particularly impacting economic mobility. Even worse is the president's attempt to undermine and influence our prudential regulators who are meant to be independent. Earlier this year, I joined with my colleagues, Congressman Emanuel Cleaver and Congressman David Scott, and sent a letter to the FDIC, to you, Mr. Hill, and voicing our concerns over DOJ's attempt to fire employees and merging the FDIC with other banking regulators. We never heard a response. But since we didn't hear a response and we have you here before us today, I am going to ask you a few of those questions that were in that letter. And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to insert the letter that we sent on March 28th for the record.
Without objection.
Chair Hill, my district is home to FDIC's Atlanta Regional Office. Earlier this Congress, there were reports that over 700 workers were fired or forced to accept buyouts, while 170 probationary employees were terminated without recourse. Can you provide an update on the status of those employees that were shuttered from work, and can you share how many employees were impacted in the Atlanta Regional Office?
Congresswoman, I'd have to get back to you on specific numbers. It is certainly not true that 700 employees were fired. That definitely did not happen. I also want to, we certainly try to respond to all letters that we receive questions, and so if you did not get a response, then I want to apologize for that, and we will make sure to respond to any questions that you've sent us.
So we've submitted all of the questions for the record, and I do hope that I get a response, and I figured you would not have an answer today, but since you've had since March 28th, it's unfortunate that I still can't get answers to those questions. Mr. Hill, I understand that you're serving as the acting chair, serving on the board with prior FDIC experience, so I imagine that you know a little bit about how important the work of FDIC staff and their examiners are. Speaking from your experience, what would be the consequences of the FDIC not having enough experienced examiners and managers? What would be the consequences of not having enough staff to conduct oversight, which is a key role in this position?
Certainly agree with that. Having qualified and experienced safety and soundness examiners is core to one of our primary missions, which is promoting the safety and soundness of financial institutions that we supervise. And so we very much value the experienced workforce that we have. And as I mentioned to one of the congresswomen earlier, we are taking a number of steps to try to ensure that we are able to retain our experienced examiners.
FDIC independence, as you know, ensures that banks remain financially strong and continue serving the communities that many constituents and minority-owned businesses rely on. Some of my colleagues on the other side may make it about politics, but ensuring that the FDIC has the staff capacity to supervise 4,000 community banks seems like good policy to me, not just politics. Another issue my colleagues and I have concerns with are the reports alleging that the administration has looked into ways to influence the FDIC behind the scenes, including through unprecedented involvement by the White House. And with the CFPB being gutted, attempts to fire Democratic board members at NCUA and the Fed, it's clear that the Trump administration wants to influence our banking regulators with this policy. Mr. Hill, have you heard discussions recently on the White House being involved with the rulemaking process?
We have a process for issuing our rules. We have a board. It goes through our board process. We do coordinate with other agencies as appropriate, and that's something we continue to do.
Mr. Hill, I have many more questions in the letter and that I have evolved since March 28th.
gentlewoman's
And I will
time has
submit
expired.
them all, and I really would appreciate a response. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.